that Chris joins us, because if you leave, we will not have a quorum, and I will have to shut the meeting down. So I know you've got to leave early. I think you said 5 or 5:15. If you might want to take yourself off mute. Charlie, if you could take yourself off mute.
Tina, did you get in touch with Chris, did you say?
Yeah, I just said her.
5:15, I have another call, I have a client issue.
Okay, that's fine. Do you need to leave at 5:15 or do you need to leave at 5:10?
That's when my call's coming.
Okay, so, all right, so before we start the meeting, I'm hoping Chris joins us. If she doesn't, when you leave, Charlie, there goes our time. So I am going to do my best. Like, what is the latest you can leave? 5:10, 5:05?
Well, when the call comes in on my cell, that's probably when I'm going to have to leave, because I have to answer.
Okay, so let's just do our best. Let's just do our best to kind of stay tight, and I'll just do my best to facilitate. If Chris Banks joins us, we should be okay. So for some reason, I cannot make my screen bigger, and I cannot see if we are recording or not. Can anybody see that?
No, I don't think that would show on our screens. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Do I look like
Yeah, all we can see is it's a black blob.
Let me turn on the light.
You're still arrested. Good idea.
Yeah. I don't know what the heck's going on with my GoToMeeting. I don't use GoToMeeting that much, and I just can't make it bigger. So, all right, Charlie, I'm going to wait for you to come back, and we're going to start the meeting. So I don't know where he's gone.
He went to get better lighting.
Okay. So Caleb, I just responded to you, and if you can hear me, you can go ahead and record, and if not, we're just going to get going. And Dinah's our secretary, thankfully.
Hey, no better.
That's okay, Charlie, don't worry about it, it's fine. Okay, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum in the room. It is 4:11 for the minutes. And pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GLC 30A, section 20, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Harwich Cultural Council is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance at members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. So we'll kind of move from there. So the meeting is called to order at 4:11. We're going to start with public comments. Is there anyone from the public? I know that we have a guest today, and I want to just acknowledge her. Nina has joined us from Cape Cod Theater Company. Welcome, Nina. And she's just observing today, so I just want to welcome you. Any announcements? Anybody from our council have any announcements outside of the agenda that they would like to make? All right, hearing none, we're going to move to the next item of business, which is ratification of the June 11th, 2020 meeting minutes. Now, considering Roseanne Shapiro was our secretary, and because she was leaving, we went ahead, or I actually made an executive decision to just check in to see if there were any edits that needed to be made before she left. There were none. So I, with guidance from the town clerk's office, went ahead and had them posted, and now I just need to ratify them. So if I can have a motion to ratify, and Bernadette, you weren't with us at that time, so you can't make the motion.
I so moved.
All right, so thank you, Dinah. Move, Charlie, second?
Yes.
And we'll do a roll call vote between the three of us. So I or nay to approve the ratification. Dinah?
Yes.
Right, Charlie?
Yes.
And I'm an aye, so that's unanimous. All right, thank you. Moving on to old business. I just wanted to give you a quick update because I'm also wearing the hat of treasurer. and just the status of the 2020 grant recipients. As we know, with everything that's happening, a lot of our grant recipients from 2020 have not been able to hold their events. Some of them have moved to virtual and remote and are doing a great job. And others feel very strongly for various reasons. They want to have it in person. So I have a question for you. I know we approved a couple before to allow our FY 2020 grant recipients to have a little bit more time. We had talked about letting them go through June 30th, 2021. And what that means is that they have to have their event done. They have to have their grant reimbursement in. I have to sign off on everything, and the check has to get out. So they can't go beyond that. So I wanted to ask, and I may need a motion to allow for that if anybody else needs to do it. Are you okay? I actually got Pilgrim's Landing. We had actually granted them last year. They're one of the most recent people who have asked for an extension. So I want to see if you all are comfortable with me as the chair, so that we don't have to keep doing a lot of back and forth, to extend that to anyone who requests it. I'm not going to just put it out there. If anybody does feel like they need extra time, are you okay if we do that? Dinah?
Yes,
I'm all right with that. But you probably want to qualify the extra time, needed as far as, what their presentation or idea is, so to speak.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure if they ask for an extension, they'll make an explanation.
exactly. I agree to extending the deadline. Can you give me that date again? June
30th, 2021.
June 30th, okay.
Yeah, and we do have to be clear, which I am being very, very clear with people, that all the paperwork has to be in. So they have to allow themselves a bit of extra time so that I can hand the paperwork to Carol Coppola, because they've got to do the checks. That has to happen by the 30th of June.
Okay.
So
they have to have their program completed, and they have to have all the paperwork in by that date.
Yes, yes.
What we are agreeing to now, if we do, is that you would be authorized to extend that deadline without checking in with the rest of the committee. Is that correct?
And yes, that would be correct. Now, what I can do, because we can't really deliberate via email, but what I can do is alert you that a request has come in. You can certainly reach out to me and ask any questions that you want, but we can't really be deliberating in an email dialogue.
Right.
So if you're comfortable with letting me do that, but I will alert you that it's happening. Or I can alert you and then I can make the decision. Does that make sense?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, and
Either way, well, I think we'd like to be alerted. I would assume the members would like to be alerted of what the decision was. So if you get a request, we'd like to be certain exactly what it is that has happened. Have you agreed? Was there some contingency? I mean, I think we would like to have the information.
Okay. So what if I think that's a good point. And so what we could do is I can let you know that I've received a request. Mm-hmm. We can't deliberate, but yes. I can let you know based on my thought as chair that this would be an okay thing to do. And you can ask me one-on-one. If you've got a question about it, I can hopefully answer the question, but we can't really deliberate about it.
Right. Got it.
Does that make sense?
Of course.
Yeah, and it hasn't really happened a lot, so I just want to be real clear about that. We've only had 3 requests for that, so it's not like everybody's doing it. The first response is, can you do this virtually? And it's yes or no. And if it's no, then we talk about when they can do it so that it doesn't carry all the way through June.
Yes, and you have had some requests already, and some have been granted, but you've had other requests that have not yet been granted, is that correct?
Actually, we just had a recent one, and I'm sorry that Lorinda isn't here, and I don't think she could speak to it anyway, but it's Pilgrim's Landing was the most recent, and they're doing the soul collage workshop that Lorinda is facilitating. But they wanted an in-person experience, and they just didn't think they could do what they wanted to do virtually. So I told her that I'm having this conversation with you tonight, and I would reach out to her tomorrow to let her know. But it's those types of things where they don't feel a virtual experience is adequate.
Of course. So that one, since you already have that request in, that is something that we can discuss and agree to.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Gina, didn't Ricky send us some situational type information in one of his early letters?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, we all have it. Yeah, we all got some guidance on it. Yes.
Right.
So we could just follow that. Yeah.
Right.
And Becky Bernadette is for our liaison to Mass Cultural Council.
I believe that the guidance he gave was pretty liberal. That was my impression. As I read it, I can't quote it chapter and verse, but I seem to remember that it was pretty much, we want to support these people and do what we need to do in order to be able to support them. Would you say that that is your recollection as well?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I think this is a wonderful opportunity for innovation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
So,
and as everybody knows, that's our first go-to is how can you innovate? How can you take this virtually? I mean, those are the conversations that I've been having with people. And most everybody is fine. Most everybody is adapting, but every now and then we're going to get somebody that just, the virtual just isn't working or
yes,
won't work.
yes, of course.
Yes.
In which case, they can do it up until June 30th, but if they can't, then they lose the grant. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
That is exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
I have another question. What was it?
Bernadette, do you have any questions on this? Because you can certainly join this dialogue. Yeah. Diana?
Yes. My other question was, does this affect their ability to apply for another grant for this coming cycle? Can they have two applications, i.e. one that has not yet been fulfilled from last year, as well as a new one that they might be wanting to apply for this year?
It does not, it should not, based on my past experience, it shouldn't, as long as they're coming in with the next cycle with a different event. It can't be the same one. They can't take this year's and all of a sudden ask for next year's, because that's technically asking for more time.
Yes, unless they abandon this year's.
They could. And I mean, that's up to them. They could abandon this year. If they do that, they lose the money and they risk us saying no next time because we don't have to say yes. It depends on what else we have. And yeah. I'm just waiting. Yeah.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me just make sure. I apologize. I'm multitasking because Chris, I guess, has not seen my text. So I'm trying to give her the new ID number. So do we need to discuss this, or how do you feel about making a motion?
I'm happy to make a motion unless there's more discussion.
Okay, I'm good. Anybody with more discussion?
I think we should go ahead and listen. I think we vetted most of the participants pretty well to know that they're going to be responsible in following through. So. I'm for giving as much leeway as we can possibly give.
Okay, good. And I will forward the MCC guidance to you, Bernadette, because I know that came in probably after you joined us, so I'll make sure you get a copy so you can have an idea of what the state has offered.
Guidelines on it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's online and I was looking at it last night.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. Okay. So let's have a motion, if you don't mind, Charlie, or somebody.
Yeah.
Or Dinah.
I can make a motion to authorize Tina as the chair of the committee to make decisions going forward about the appropriateness of extending the deadline to June 30th, 2021 for anyone who requests it of our applicants from 20.
Well said. I agree. I'll second that motion.
Okay, so Dinah's made the motion and Charlie made the second, so we're going to do a roll call vote. Bernadette, we'll start with you. Aye or nay?
I agree.
Okay, Charlie?
Aye.
Dinah?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. All right, so that will pass. Thank you very much. That will make things a lot easier. Moving on to the grant reception, and this is so tricky. I mean, it's such a weird year, as we all know. We would have had a grant reception in May for Bernadette and for our guests, but things happened. And right now, we had talked about having a grant reception like this fall. The challenge with that is, and I'm just opening up my notebook here, the challenge is so many things are iffy. And a lot of our grant recipients are uncomfortable, because I've spoken to a couple of them, of coming to a grant reception where they don't really know exactly how they're going to do their program. So I think what I'd like to put on the floor, because we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've only had 7 of our grant recipients out of, I can't remember, I think it's 25, actually do their program.
Okay, so 7 completed programs.
Yes, so seven have completed and have submitted their reimbursements, and we had one of them cancel altogether. That just didn't even feel it was workable at all, and they canceled altogether.
So that's one of the 7?
No, that would have made it 8. So
okay.
Not, yeah. So one of them, and she just felt that it just wasn't going to be a possibility because it was a field trip and they couldn't do it virtually.
Oh, yes.
It just
yes.
wasn't going to happen. So I asked her to just consider applying next year for something in the next cycle. So we've had 7 who have submitted and been reimbursed, and we have 1 that's canceled altogether. So that leaves a good chunk of people. So I'm going to ask that we might, as much as I hate it, we might have to forego a reception this year and maybe think about something in the early part of the year to recognize once we get a bit more clarity on what's happening. Would all of you be okay with just canceling it, at least for the calendar year 2020?
Sure, I think that's the only practical move.
Yeah, I agree. So just so that we are on record, could Charlie, would you mind just making a motion that we're just going to cancel our grant reception for the calendar year of 2020?
I'll make the motion that we cancel the reception for the 2020 calendar year. Gives us more time to plan something great for 2021 or 2 or whenever we're out of this cloud.
Exactly. And may I have a second?
I'll second that for you.
Mike already got a second, so we're going to do a roll call vote.
I don't have to do all the work tonight.
Charlie, so we'll go around and do a roll call vote. Charlie?
Aye.
Okay. Bernadette?
Aye.
Dinah?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So that will happen. And the next is the fundraising subcommittee. This is another little tricky thing because a couple of our folks that are on the fundraising subcommittee are leaving or have left. Kathy Tien has left us, and Lorinda will be leaving very soon. She's moving to Maine and has her house on the market, which was sold, by the way. So with the fundraising subcommittee as it stands, everybody has a copy of the imaginary candlelight dinner that was proposed by Charlie. We talked about it at our June meeting. We all agreed it was a good idea. Over the summer, Charlie, Kathy, and myself gathered a couple of times via email to talk about some next steps. And Kathy had written a wonderful press release that we were going to talk about tonight. So I wanted to just throw it out for a dialogue. Do we want to move ahead with this? We can use Kathy's press release. I can clean it up a little bit and send that out. And my thought is I can take the document, Charlie, that you created for us. I can put it in a PDF and put it on our town webpage so that the press release will direct everybody to the page. And we can maybe get an interview or something through Cape Cod Chronicle, and maybe one of us can talk about it or whatever, and just send people there. And so if people are interested in donating, they have a way to do it. Does that make sense?
That's the message, and again, I think it's a shame that we can't mass mail this. We don't have the budget for that, number one, but at least it's an effort in the direction of fundraising, which I think is important.
Yeah, I agree.
And difficult. Although people are a lot more generous when there's a crisis, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Dinah?
I think that makes sense, and I think it might glean some interest, but I also wanted to mention the possibility of doing a cable interview, which we have discussed before, and the question is, who would I do it with? Who would be willing to be interviewed about this? Because I think that would be another way to promote it.
Yeah. Right, and I'm always, as the chair, happy to be interviewed. Charlie, it was your, we talked about this and you put the invitation together. So I think anybody here on the council, we can talk about the work we do and why it's important for people to support it. So I think any of us could be interviewed.
How about it, Charlie?
And I would pose that, Tina, you've had such wide experience in this particular area. Again, I'm newly residing on the Cape as of 2018, so I haven't made all the connections I normally would have liked to before I sat down and espoused or talked about something that's very dear to me, but that I know nothing about the local landscape. So I think it would be helpful. I mean, you've got a lot of knowledge and a lot of connections in that particular area. For that matter, Dinah, you could interview yourself because you've got a pretty wide range of experience in that regard in the arts and everything else.
I don't think that would be quite as effective. I think it would be best. I'm happy to interview whomever is willing to be interviewed, and I think Tina would do a great job, of course. And if you don't feel comfortable, then let's ask Tina to do it. I think that makes sense.
I can just be listed as the media, because when you do the press release, just for media contact, I can just contact me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you are going to tell me exactly what it was you suggested do, which is to post it.
Yes. So on our webpage, if you go to the town website, the Harwich Cultural Council has its own page. And we can provide over to the left, I'm trying to in my head remembering, over to the left, we can send the actual invitation, and I can send that over to Caleb, who's very helpful in uploading things on our website. So we'll have a little bar that says Imaginary Candlelight Dinner. And then so if somebody clicks on that, they'll get the PDF, they can print it out, write their check, and send it in. And that will be where we will send people.
But previous to that, you were talking about Kathy's press release, which would be sent to where? You were suggesting Chronicle?
Yes.
Just the Chronicle? Is that the only that we have?
Actually, yeah, we can send it wherever we want. We can send it to the Cape Cod Chronicle, absolutely. I think the Cape Cod Times. I mean, I've got a media list that I use for a lot of different things. And so
okay. You would make a choice about where that would go, or should we decide that now?
I mean, we can. Here's what I'm, in the interest of time, because I know Charlie's got to leave. Why don't we do this? If anybody has an idea of where they want it to be sent, are you okay with just emailing me and letting me know? Just give me the contact name and where you think it might go, and I'll just add that to my list.
Okay. And how soon would you propose sending this out?
I can do it as soon. I've got Kathy's. If everybody's okay with what Kathy wrote, I was just going to go in there and just tighten it just a tad and put myself as the contact at the bottom, and we can get that out. Let's just say next week.
Mm-hmm.
Great. It was a wonderful piece. I mean, it's exactly what I would expect from a former English teacher.
Yes. Yes.
She did a great job of explaining, how it works. So.
Yeah, she really did. Can I ask a sidebar question? Chris keeps texting me. When you all came in, did you use the link that was on the agenda?
Yes, and then you gave us, you sent us a new link.
Okay, great.
No, you sent us the new access code. The link, I think, was the same, but the access code was different. That was the issue.
I had to type in the address.
Okay, that's what I told her. For some reason, she's not able to join, and I don't know why. Okay.
Can she join by phone? There's another option there. That would allow her to be part of it.
Or she can just go to meeting and cut off the address. I think if she just goes to the GoToMeeting site, it will give her an option to log in.
Right.
She can use that number. That's how I did it.
Yeah. These are all these techie. Let me just try again. I'm just trying to, all right. Hopefully she can join us. Okay, so what I'm hearing is we're all good. Do we need to take a vote? It sounds to me like we have consensus. Do we need to take a vote to accept the press release? Does anybody feel the need for a vote?
No, I don't think so.
All right, so we're going to move ahead with the press release, and I will be listed as the media contact, and then I will get the document with the invitation over to the town and have it put on our webpage.
Great.
All right? Wonderful. Okay, so, and I think that's it for right now. Did anybody else have anything else under fundraising? Okay.
Oh, yes, I would actually like to ask a question about the cards, because that was something that we had a good bit of conversation with Lorinda and I guess with Kathy as well.
Yep.
I'd just like to know what the status of that is.
That I wish I had one for you. I mean, Bernadette, go ahead.
It was my students who generated the artwork, and it was supposed to go to Cape Cod Tech for the printing, but everybody shut down, and we have no idea what we are doing next week. We are entering a year like none of us has ever had in our career, and I don't have any direct contact with Cape Cod Tech, so.
Okay, so that's on permanent hold.
Right.
I would have to say so. I was just providing the artwork with students and the National Art Honor Society to generate some of the work, but I'm not sure what we'll do with that this year either.
Yeah, okay. So really the virtual dinner is an ideal thing for this time. Even before the pandemic, we were talking about it, but it turns out to be just the right thing here, whereas the cards are, hard copy, and that is not going to work right now. Okay, I just wanted to try that.
Tina, do you know, would the chamber give us any assistance in getting the word out or the press release out?
I'm sure they would, Charlie, and you can reach out to Cindy Williams and ask her. Absolutely, I'm sure she would, but I don't want to answer for her.
All right, yeah, maybe I'll actually stop in and show her my new mask.
No, there you go. Yes. Yeah, she's very helpful, so you could have that conversation and just let us know.
Great.
Yeah. All right, so anything else on fundraising? So Dinah, I guess for the minutes, just put that we're tabling the cards for now.
Yeah, got it.
So membership recruitment is the next item. Current vacancies. So everybody knows Kathy resigned over the summer. Lorinda will be resigning soon because of her relocation. So that will leave us with 5 people. Am I 1, 2, 3, 4? Yeah, so 5 people. And so we are actively recruiting. We cannot go below 5. Our minimum is 5 people according to the Mass Cultural Council. So we have to be in active recruitment. I know we've got somebody observing us today, which we hope that she will join us. And I know that there are a couple other people that are interested. So let's just continue to keep pushing that forward. We can take a maximum of 9, but we have to a minimum of 5. If we fall below 5, we have to shut it all down.
Okay, so we have 6 right now, active.
Right, until Linda resigns.
As long as we all stick, we have time to get a few more, which is great.
Right. We have 6 until Lorinda officially resigns. She has not resigned yet?
No, we have 6 without Lorinda because of Chris.
No, Chris, it's 4 of us on the call today. Nina, if you're referring to Nina, I don't know the status of her application at this point. So, yeah.
I was counting myself twice, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all
counting
right.
me here and then I was counting me there. Okay, that's,
Yeah.
that's the
We
explanation.
just have to be mindful of the fine.
It wasn't a 5, yes, all right.
So that's really, I just wanted to make that comment. Any questions before we move on to our new business?
No, but I do have, as you know, I think I have a couple of other people who have expressed great interest, would like to join. So that's good.
Okay, good. And I guess I'll make this comment too. Bernadette, I had spoken with, and I know the rest of you know this. I am term limited, so at the end of June, I have to leave, and that's a state requirement. You can't serve more than 2 full terms, which is 6 years. So at the end of June, I have to leave. So we also do need to be thinking about a chairperson. I did get a list of job descriptions from the Mass Cultural Council, which I'm going to use to kind of tighten up some job descriptions, which might help, hopefully, some of you that might be thinking about things and need clarification. I'll try to bring that to the next meeting.
Okay.
But we really do need to be thinking about a succession plan. Because, yeah. Moving on to new business presentation. Okay, so I just wanted to, did everybody get a copy of the grant application?
Yes.
So normally, non-COVID, every summer we have hosted a grant workshop over at the Cultural Center for anybody interested in applying for a grant, and we've been able to visually, up on a big screen, walk through things and take people's questions. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do that this year. So what I wanted to do is just go over the application and just say that if somebody is applying, it's all online. So if they were to go and apply, they can go to our Harwich Council website, and you'll see a link that will take you to the page for the application, because it's actually on the Mass Cultural Council site. And once they log in and set up their account, unless they're a previous grant recipient, then they should already have an account. It will walk you through what we're seeing in hard copy. Each section pops up online, so it walks people through. And you can go through each section, and you can save it, and go back to it, and add to it. And then when you're ready to submit, you have to hit the submit button. Now, I did want to just update everybody because of COVID. Everything has been delayed. The state budget was delayed. So the state made a decision to postpone the grant application process. So it now opens on October 1st versus September 1st. So it opens on October 1 and it stays open until mid-November. I believe it's right on the 15th, I think.
Yes.
So it's 6 weeks. And anybody who's listening or watching this later, I am very happy. My contact information is on the Harwich Town webpage, and I can answer any questions you have since we're not able to have our workshop. I have done that before. I've actually gotten on the phone with people and walked them through things. The thing that the workshop has allowed us to do in the past is allow people to show up with their ideas, and we've actually had a conversation in the room. And we've been able to answer those questions. And because we're not able to do that this year, I just want to make myself available, or any of you can be available if people are reaching out in the community. So I think the application, and also I can provide too, for somebody that hasn't done this before, there is a video on the Mass Cultural Council website that I can provide a link to anyone who might be listening or watching. I can send a link. It's a tutorial, and it walks you through the process of the application. And if you have questions beyond that, you can reach out to me, and I'm happy to answer those. And I was hoping too, tonight, we kind of share a screen, but I am having difficulty expanding my screen for some reason.
You're off.
Did that just happen?
Your voice disappeared.
Oh, okay.
You clicked something else.
I think I was looking for something on my screen. But any questions from council members?
Yes. Is there any possibility that we could, in fact, do some kind of an online meeting with people calling in or logging in to ask questions, such as we do in person? Or is that too complicated, too labor intensive? I'm not sure why we would not consider that, I guess.
As I understand it, and I may have to get some support from the Mass Cultural Council, but as I understand it, I think the town clerk's office might have a little bit of an issue with me going off and doing my own little thing. I would prefer Zoom if I do anything, or even Google Meet, just because I'm more familiar with those platforms. The town likes to use GoToMeeting, but using GoToMeeting requires a reservation. It requires a lot of different things. So to answer your question, Tina, I don't know. I did ask this question over the summer and was told that the preference was to do it on GoToMeeting. However, I've got to schedule it, and we're not, or at least my understanding was we weren't a priority.
Oh, okay. So then the alternative that you're suggesting is that how do we put the word out about this? We're putting out the word about the virtual invitation. Would this also just go on the website so that anyone who, is there a press release maybe that goes out to inform people of the change? I think in the past, what I've done in the past is send out press releases to the various outlets to let them know what the cycle is, when it's starting, and so people can know all the information. Is that happening? Is that something we should be authorizing?
So every year, and I think you and Charlie joined us right after this last year, if I'm remembering correctly, but every year I, as the chairperson, sends out a press release.
Okay.
I already have it, it's written, it's ready to go, and I will send it next week. But when the date changed to October 1, I just held on to it for a little bit of time. So I can send that out next week. It's already written. And it will go to where it typically goes, which is all the local papers. I share it with the Cultural Center, so Erica does a great job of getting it out to her group. I think Cindy's done a good job in getting it out to her various networks. I think Chris has done a wonderful job getting it out to the Harwich Artist Guild. So to answer your question, yes.
Okay. So maybe those two press releases that we've discussed can both go out almost simultaneously next week.
They could, yeah, they could. I mean, a day or two.
And why not send the invitation to the same group that you just identified as the places that you send the application information to, the press release about the application? Wouldn't it be simpler to just send both?
It depends. I mean, being on the other side of the separate them out a couple of just because I don't want them to have to pick one or the other. So I need to separate it out a little bit.
Yeah. Right, but it maybe not exactly at the same time, but you're talking about sending both out next week, so maybe that isn't a great idea. However, I would think that the people who don't know that the cycle has been delayed would want to know sooner rather than later. And maybe we should do that one first and then send out the virtual invitation later.
Yeah.
But I think that the virtual invitation, just in terms of the groups that are going to get it, I would think it should be about the same groups. It should be the same outlets you just identified. It sounds like you do it every year, so why not send the invitation to that group as well?
Yep, exactly. Now, I have, just because I've done this for 5 years now, that I actually have just notified various groups of people that I always send it to that has been delayed. So a lot of people already know it's been delayed, just with the personal email that I sent.
I see.
Yeah. So yes, I think your advice is good. I think next week we can send out the grant announcement that's opening up one, and then maybe we can follow the next week with the other thing.
I would suggest that sounds like better timing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Given everything.
Right, exactly. And let me just mention too, that anybody listening or watching later, the application, and I don't think anybody can really see this, but it does walk you through a budget. So anybody that is considering a program or an event does need to kind of have in their mind a budget, because what we have historically done, because we're a small grant entity, is very rarely we've been able to ever fund a project in full, simply because we're a small grants entity. So as people are thinking about things, keep in mind that cultural council tend to look at a part of the budget and think, we can fund that part. And so when the grant acceptance letters go out, it will say, we've approved you for $500 toward whatever the event is, and it's usually tied to something that's on the budget. So anybody listening later, or even listening now, just kind of keep that in mind as you're writing your budget, that very, very rarely do we ever fund something fully. But it does a very good job of walking you through the whole application, considering it asks you to, summarize your project, your target audience in mind. Also, the other important thing for me to note is that most cultural councils, and Harwich specifically, do like projects and events that are either based in Harwich or that support the Harwich community in some way. So even an artist can live in
your audio is going in
another.
and out. That wasn't entirely clear. I can't hear you. Hearing about every other fifth word or something.
We're losing your signal.
The program or event supports people here in Harwich. So that's just something to think.
Tina, could you hear what I said?
Like I might have frozen.
Yeah, we're missing a lot of saying.
Can people see me?
Yes.
Yes, but you freeze
It looks
periodically.
like I might
And your vocal is
have frozen. Oh. Can anybody see me right now or hear me? Yeah, I've got a lot of
yes.
Yes.
You can hear me?
No, we can't.
Okay,
Not-
if you
not
can
here.
hear me, it looks like I'm having internet stability. So instability here.
It might be a
I can't do
conspiracy.
anything about it. I can't do anything. There might be. Oh, it looks like I'm back. Okay, good. Well, my husband's upstairs doing his work, and so I think we might be having an internet overload, unfortunately. And that actually, as a side note, now that more and more people are staying on the Cape right now, that seems to be a big problem. I don't know if everybody's noticed.
Oh, yeah.
We're having a really big, yeah. So I noticed that. Exactly. So any other questions about the grant process And I am mindful of our time because I'm afraid when you lose Charlie, because I can't keep texting back and forth to Chris. I can't seem to do that.
Tina, when we first came on, you pointed us to the application process, the tutorial.
Yep.
And we were able to go through that to get the answers to some questions that we had. So it's a pretty simple process as long as people know where to go.
Perfect, thank you. And I'm glad you said that, Charlie, because I think in the media release, what I might do this year is probably put a link to the tutorial. Yes. I think that's actually very helpful. And I think also, in fact, let me make a note, because I may also add a button on our town webpage that sends people to the tutorial also.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I think that's going to, let me make a note. Okay, good idea. All right, so any other questions? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense than waiting to hear from people, and then you have to individually send it to everybody. Why not put it from the start?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. All right, so I'll add that to the media release, a link to the tutorial, and I'll add it to our webpage, our town webpage. And we can direct people. So if any of you are getting questions, you can tell people to go to the town webpage. So it'll have the link to the application once that goes live on October 1, because it's not going to be live until October 1. But you can tell people to go to the town webpage. They'll get a link to the application and a link to the tutorial. I'll have that added.
Can I clarify, when you say the town webpage, are you talking about the HCC town webpage?
Yes, yes. Yeah. So if they go to the town of Harwich, and I want to say / cultural council, but I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, whatever, it will guide you to it, yes.
Exactly. And you can click under, I think, boards and committees and just find the cultural council. It'll take you right to the page.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? Bernadette?
You've got a Facebook page for the Harwich Cultural Council, too.
Yes.
Who's doing that?
Yeah, that falls on me too, Bernadette. So I actually will post the media release. I've actually done that as part of the media release plan, is I also just go in there and make an announcement that it's opening. So I've got a little thing I've done for the last couple of years on the Facebook page. So that will be done too.
I found it and I shared it last night, so.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Yes, Diane.
I'm thinking about the institutional knowledge that you hold, Tina, and when you talked about doing job descriptions, would the job descriptions include all of the little things that you have now mentioned that you do just on your very own? Nope. And how would we know what things need to be taken care of that are not necessarily in the job description?
So I've talked about this quite a lot at meetings, and I'm going to just say it again. It would be so helpful if somebody is thinking that they want to be the chair or even a treasurer, for us to be able to work together or even have a meeting or something before we get to June. And I mean, I will certainly be available after June. I'm very happy to help anyone. But it would be preferable if somebody thinks they might want to take this on, that we might have a series of meetings. Because when I took over the chair position 5 years ago, I was shocked at how much the chair has done historically.
Right.
And And so it was my hope that we could split up some of these responsibilities. Unfortunately, for various reasons, that hasn't happened, so a lot has fallen on the chair. But I just always am available, and I know we've got a very small group, and I understand everybody's circumstances, but if anybody at all is thinking that they might want to chair or even co-chair, two of you could come forward and do it together. I am here and ready to sit down and have a series of meetings because when I took it over 5 years ago, I had one meeting and really kind of had to learn. It was like a crash course and learned it all. And I just don't want to do that to somebody else. So the earlier that we can identify somebody, it's just easier.
We're looking. You're like the mainspring in a fine watch, Nina. Hard to duplicate that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But there's other people out there, but thank you. I appreciate that. And yes,
for on other boards, if you accept the work of the council, everyone's got to share. And the reason I asked about the Facebook page is if you want to share that information with me, I can take that over right now.
Oh, yeah, that would be great.
That's a small thing. And I have to be careful what I say I'll do right now because as I said, I have no idea what next week's going to be like or the school year's going to be like. But social media is an important place to get this stuff out. People don't want to read big, long press releases all the time. Some people aren't reading papers. I still do. I can't get it anymore, so I have gone to electronic, even though I'd rather still hold one. But if you want, we can talk later about the password or whatever, and I'll take the Facebook page over for you right now.
I would appreciate that, and I would love it because when I first started, I was really good about posting, but I am so busy that I'm very rarely posting, and I think between the two of us, that would be fabulous. And it's really
a segment of the population you'll get there in social media that you're not going to get in traditional media.
I would agree with you. And it's very easy to add. All I have to do, I may or may not have to friend you, but I'm not sure. I think I can add you as an admin.
I'll friend you anyway.
Yeah. Because I think it's really easy. I think I just add you as an admin because I
had me in this for I think, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the tiny thing. I'm being careful not to take on too much too quick, but first meeting, I'll do that. We'll start with that.
That would be a big help. Thank you very much. So I'll add that, and I'll try to do that maybe tomorrow. I'll just, we'll connect. Thank you for that. Anything else? Anyone? Go ahead.
I just talk about the process. This is my first meeting as clerk, taking minutes. And once I have completed my version of it, Tina, may I send them to you for you to check over to be sure that they reflect everything in your recollection as well? Is that the best way to go about it?
Yes, and I appreciate that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And then once we get that clarification, we'll send that out with the next packet because people will review the minutes in the next packet and then we'll approve it at the next meeting.
And then what is the process for having them posted? They have to be posted on a town website?
Yep, and actually traditionally, and this might be another task we could pass off, although Caleb and I have a really good relationship working together.
As do I with Caleb.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's why we have a good relationship.
Right. So I can do that.
Yeah, that would be great because they have a special email address just for minutes. And then there's another one for agenda. So
okay, how should I get this information?
I will, let's communicate email and I'll just give you that minutes email, but you can't send the minutes to Caleb until they're approved. So,
okay.
So what happens is you will send me a version and I'll just do a quick scan and then I will include it in the next agenda packet. And then when we meet next month, everybody will vote and approve them. And once they're approved, then you can take them, send them to Caleb, and he'll post it on our page.
So they very specifically do not get sent out publicly until the council has had a chance to approve them.
Yep, they have to be approved. Yep.
Good to know.
Yeah. Yeah, and we just had an exception for the last couple of sets of minutes just because of the COVID situation and with Roseanne leaving, that I got permission from the town clerk's office that I could make an executive decision.
Yes.
Verified. Right. Yeah, but that was not typical. Yeah.
And yes, Dinah, I don't know if you've been a recording secretary or a clerk for any or many other.
I am currently and have been for years, but it's different for them.
A long time ago, I was given really good advice because I'm the queen of run-on sentences. I was given really good advice from someone that you're recording what was done,
yes.
not what was said.
Conversations, yes. No, I'm pretty familiar with the protocol of that. It's more about the posting in the town.
Posting it, yeah.
But thank you for
I figured you had, but in case you hadn't, I was so grateful when someone first sent it to me.
Yeah, I'm currently still doing that job for another organization, which I thought I was going to be leaving, but because of the pandemic, I was asked to stay here. So now I'm doing both of these workshops. Anyway, thank you.
Right. Yeah, thank you for that. And before, Charlie, I know I want to try to get just a couple of things done here. So other items, really, I just wanted to just really highlight that the grant application process opens October 1. I just want to make sure, I think we've already talked about why it's been delayed. So October 1, so everything's a month out. So one of the things I'll be emailing everyone in the next agenda packet is the outlines. Everything that we do to go through the grant applications is going to be pushed out a month. So our whole process of reviewing, discussing, selecting, all of that stuff is going to be a month out. So I'm going to be sending everybody a revised timeline in the next agenda packet, and we'll go over that next month.
We did all get that, I think, from Ricky. That is,
yeah, he did send that. That's right. Okay.
So I've already downloaded that, and I would think others would have it as well, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Yes, Bernadette? Oh, and you're on mute.
I would not have that because I wouldn't be on the email yet.
Exactly. And I'll make sure, I'll send it anyway, just in the agenda packet. I think it's probably helpful anyway.
But it's the same timeline.
Exactly. It's just all of it is a month out. So that whole timeline is just pushed out by a whole month.
Yeah.
The other thing before we wrap up, Charlie, and because we were trying to speed up, I just want to officially welcome Bernadette Waystack to our council.
Welcome, Bernadette.
Thank you.
Bernadette, if you'll just take a minute to introduce yourself. I know you well, but just a minute. Go ahead.
Sure. I've lived here 34 years, husband, 2 kids, grandchildren, daughter, son-in-law. I am a visual arts educator at Monomoy High School and prior to that at Harwich Middle. Very involved and taught theater at the Junior Theater years ago with Nina, so that'd be lovely to be back working with her if she should come on. I have a studio at the Cultural Center. It's ironic, I'm in my old vice principal's office at the middle school, so that's been wonderful. And I had been active in the town in the past, and then I took some time off and had done a master's degree, and years went by, and it was time to step forward again. So I am currently in my 2nd year of my first term, having returned to the Board of Trustees of the library. I've served there for many years and then was gone for a while and I'm back. And the arts is my place in the world, so I'm delighted to step up and see what I can do to help the arts in Harwich. And I will actively think about colleagues and folks I know who maybe I can approach about joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Charlie, do you have a minute to just introduce yourself to Bernadette?
Well, sure, Bernadette. I guess you could call me a wash ashore. I actually grew up here on the Cape. I lived here for 6 or 7 years as a child, went to the grade school here, was also active in the Junior Theater when Betty Boat was there. My father was a former Broadway actor and was very involved in the theater, so I have that to draw on. But I'm also retired, although I'm still working because my business apparently needs me in the time of crisis, so I'm working pretty much on a daily basis now. But I'm very happy to be here. I've always had a soft spot in my heart for Harwich. Because it gave me a great send-off, if you will. So not much of a mystery here. I spent about 50 years running an insurance business. And my friend Dinah thought that I could do some good things on the committee here, and so I'm doing my best. I feel like I'm drawing in several directions because I'm still on the board of a couple of not-profits up in the Albany area. and I still advise a couple of others, and everybody is in crisis, of course, and the money's very tight. Fundraising, I've done a lot of fundraising, and there's no supplement for the ask, and that's the most difficult thing. We're somewhat hobbled by what the state and the town allows us, so it's a real challenge to try and put the money where it's going to do the most good for the town and for the town's population. I think we're a little bit in crisis here in terms of our infrastructure, so I'm hoping that this all lends to that in an effective way. But it's great to have someone with your knowledge and talent on board, and I think knowing where to go and who to go to in Harwich is a very important aspect of it. So that's about it.
Thank you, Charlie. And I appreciate that. And Dinah, I was going to give you a minute, but also you reminded me, we have a warrant on the town meeting, we have an article on the town meeting warrant. So please know that some of our support comes from the town. We're very, very, very grateful for that. And we do need that article to pass. We've been very fortunate every year that it's passed. So please do be mindful that we need your vote at town meeting in order to get the town's allocation for our program, our grants. Dinah, do you want to take a minute to introduce yourself before Charlie leaves? Because I'll have to adjourn the meeting.
Yes.
We know each other.
Try to get this down and talk at the same time. Okay.
She's going to come up here and spank me after this meeting.
Yeah, right. So, Bernadette, it's great to have you on board, and I also have a background in theater. Primarily, I started a theater 38 years ago in Watertown, Mass., and it has grown into a very large endeavor to the Mussessian Center for the Arts. And I am currently, and that is a full service arts center. We do all kinds of art. And it's a wonderful organization, and I'm very proud to be a part of it. And I'm mostly very involved still with that. I had, as I said, I planned to step down this year, but because of the pandemic, agreed to stay an extra year. But we just hired a new executive director, and we're very excited about going forward. Things are going quite well. We're doing a lot of online stuff there. But I also am the artistic director of the Latham Players, which is a group at the Latham School. It's actually the adult program. And so I have worked with the adult population there for several year and haven't been doing anything in the past 6 months because of the shutdown. But yes, so those are my main things. So it's great to have you aboard. Look forward to working with you. Yep.
And Bernadette and I know each other, so I'm not going to take up time to reintroduce myself because Bernadette and I know each other. So are there any final comments before we adjourn? All right, so we're going to have a motion to adjourn. Somebody make that motion?
I so move.
Okay, a second. All right, Dinah made the motion, Charlie seconded, roll call vote. Bernadette, we'll start with you. Aye. Charlie?
Yes. Aye.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So we're going to adjourn at 5:12, Charlie, before your phone call comes in.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. And